Okay, Beyond Trauma listeners, I have a call out for you. I am looking for good Samaritan stories, good Samaritans across divides. Do you have a story of an act of kindness from someone you didn't expect, someone whose politics or worldview seemed completely different from your own? I want you to send those in to me. Record them, please, on a recording device, on your phone, and send them to me at lara@landyoga.com. I'm gathering modern day Good Samaritan stories for an upcoming episode of Beyond Trauma, the moments when compassion breaks through stereotypes and humanity rises above political divides. What did it mean to you? So go grab your phone, record your voice memo, and send them to me at lara@landyoga.com, and you could be featured on Beyond Trauma. Yay, Julie McGuire. I'm so excited to have you on.
I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
I wanted to start, as you know, with just like a little preview of how we met, because I always get really excited when I have friends on, people that I know, that I don't just reach out to through the internet. Although I did originally reach out to you through the internet.
Yeah, I have to say, there's a lot of friends that I've made that way since COVID.
That's
So,
a nice thing.
yeah, you know what? People think that social media has gotten a very bad rap. And yes, there are a lot of negative things about social media. But I mean, it's responsible for like most of my friends since COVID.
That is so
And
cool.
yeah, I feel like I've found like an exalted purpose for social media, probably the way it was intended, which was to like
Exa-
increase
exactly.
your social circle and making people feel more connected. And I've been fortunate that social media has been a pretty good thing for me.
Yeah. I mean, it has. You've exploded on the socials, and I found you, through following folks that were involved with the Catskill 3500 Club, which I'm sure we'll chat a little bit about, and people that were hiking and that were inspiring me with their hikes, or just to find out a little bit of information about like trail conditions before I would do one of my hikes, and saw you and your posts, and making all the records, and then the skiing, which we'll talk about, and I just like slipped in there the DMs like, Julie, will you hike with me? I had a few hikes left. So thank you for being a role model and a friend. And
Oh, thank you.
yeah. So maybe you can tell us about a little bit about your background with hiking, and then what turned into your backcountry skiing, or maybe the skiing was always there. And through our hikes, we've had some really deep conversations. So I wanted to open those up a little bit to others, to hear, like, what we're thinking about why we do these
Mhm.
crazy outdoor adventures.
Yeah, and I think to also get to like at some point uh, how I found it to be such an essential tool in transforming traumatic events into like evolution into a higher version of yourself. So hiking. Well, I was always a resort skier, and then like I'd started dating who's now my ex-wife, and I've had a place in the Catskills since the early '80s, or like my family has, but I'm the only one that uses it now. So like we would go up on weekends, and like it was when I was with her that I started hiking, and she was like, I would just be like, Katya, just tell me where to go. Like, just tell me which direction to go. For some reason, I didn't even want to look at a map. It
Yeah.
just didn't want to expend the mental energy. And I was like, so then, we get divorced, and I kind of, I wanted to continue doing these things. So I ended up like kind of like concurrently, I had started to kind of like I had always seen backcountry skiing as a next evolution in my skiing, like getting off the resort and kind of going to the backcountry. And it was like right after my divorce that the universe sent me a sign, and I was like, you know, like suicidally depressed. And then one day there's an ad from Powder Quest that I see like, I don't know, on social media or something. And it said women's backcountry ski camp, and the three magic words: no experience necessary. It was
Yeah.
3 words that told,
Yeah.
like, I just knew, like, Julie, this is the universe sending you a lifeline. I know you're too depressed to even ski, but take it. So I was backcountry skiing, and I would like kind of try to learn as much as I could from guides, like when I'd go on my backcountry excursions. And then that kind of gave me the confidence to kind of like navigate like hiking on my own.
Yeah.
And so when COVID happened, that's really like when my life changed. So I was able to teach remotely, and I lived up in the Catskills for a year and a half. And like even with just hiking, I was just like, I was like looking at the list, the 35s, and I was like, oh, bushwhacks. That sounds intimidating. I don't
Yeah.
know how many of these I'll be able to do, but my magic words that get me started on everything, let me see how far I can get.
Mm.
I don't put the goal of like the pressure of trying to finish something at the beginning. It's just like, oh, it'd be nice if I could do this, but let me see how far I can get. And within a month, I had done almost all of them. And then I kind of like had an injury, and I had to like take like maybe like a few weeks off. And then, I finished, like the first round. Like you have to repeat 4 in the winter, but I finished those. So
So just so people know, we're talking about the highest peaks in the
yeah,
Catskills, and there's a list of them, and then to get membership into the Catskill 3500 Club, you complete all of them and you repeat these 4
right,
again during the winter season.
correct.
And some of them, these bushwhacks are, they're not marked. So,
Oh, and even less so when I was doing them. So like with COVID, hiking exploded, and the herd paths kind of like became I mean, they some of these paths don't even look like herd paths. They are like in better shape than some of the main trails.
yeah.
But then it was like, some, especially since I also didn't necessarily know how to find all the herd paths on the way up, even though I'd read about where they were. I just kind of like missed them somehow.
Well,
I would
they're
usually find them
easy
on
to
the way
miss.
down, and then I would like mark where they are, like with waypoints or whatever. So then when I would go back, I was like, oh, this is where, the herd paths are. But yeah, I mean, during my divorce, I had just had this like obsessive compulsion to climb things.
Yeah.
And I think that it's really good and kind of, like it's rigorous, especially like when you're climbing things on skis, and you have like skis, you have your pack on, it adds it, and there's deep snow. Um, so it moved a lot of the negative energy out on a regular basis, and I think that's key. I think it also, it gave me a goal, and slowly,
Mhm.
like, you make little progress along the way, and it kind of builds up your self-esteem. And so it takes you kind of like out of that crisis mode and allows you to have a little bit of that emotional distance where the universe can then kind of like, start gaining perspective, you start gaining wisdom, and you kind of slowly rebuild yourself. And I
Yeah.
think that could be with any like pastime, something that's a creative outlet, something that's a physical outlet, but something that gets like the emotions out. Because
Mhm.
prior to that point, um like, let's see, my wife left me like in 2018, so I had maybe like about a year where, yeah, I would be doing like the hike, like skiing on weekends and stuff like that, but it like wasn't enough. I still had like, like 5 days out of the week to deal with.
Mm.
And I felt like I was really like just coping, and not always coping the best way. uh and then when I got to live full time in the Catskills, that's when I felt like I was really healing, and then eventually like evolving into something better. And I saw that, like, even though that was like one of the worst things that ever happened in my life,
Yeah.
that I would not have had this amount of growth without it. I wouldn't be the person I am today. I wouldn't have evolved as much without that.
And your sharing of your story and how your hiking and skiing were really helping you to heal, I think a lot of people gravitated toward that and toward you, and it just led into even more and more opportunities.
Yeah, it was, you know, like I was essentially living, like, I guess I was agnostic, right? It's like, oh, there's a possibility that, and I don't really like to like say God because there's so many negative connotations with it. I kind of talk about, like, I usually say the universe, and that's closer to my concept of what God is anyway. But I was essentially agnostic, but really living like an atheist. And uh, during that period of time when I was in the Catskills, I just, I don't know, like I would be out in the woods, even like honestly, even when I wasn't in the woods, but I think it was like most apparent when I was in the woods, I would just like feel this presence. I was just like, what am I imagining this? Like it was just so like powerful. It was kind of like, it was almost like something that was like hanging in the air, and I realized that there's like always something that's like kind of like in the background. We just never
Mm,
notice it because we're too busy. Like, oh, we got to get this done, I got to get that done. And um, I was like, wow. And then like all these good things started happening, like all these synchronicities and stuff, and it was so strange. Like you said, like I would post online, and I'd like trip reports, and then some insights that I would get, like, while I was doing that. And I don't even know why I started adding that stuff in there, to be honest with you. um but sometimes I would have like this powerful urge, like, you need to share it, like something was like pushing me, like, you need to share this, you need to share this.
yeah.
And like, then people would like write me about how that resonated with something that they were going through. I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting.
Can
um
you recall any of those? I know I'm, like, pulling at some memory here, or in general, some of the insights, awakenings, lessons that have come to you through this essentially hobby.
well, I think, and I think I have like written about this, but this was kind of like a lesson from posting those lessons and those stories, is the the importance of actually sharing our story.
Hmm,
Um, so it really gives an exalted purpose to our trauma when we share the story about, this is the low point I was at. And like, I don't describe low points as a way of receiving sympathy or anything like that. That's not the purpose. The purpose is because I know that when I've been at my lowest points, like, there were a couple times in my life when I was suicidal. It was when I was in a very abusive relationship in my 20s. And I had multiple suicide attempts there. And then it was my divorce. And every second of the day was fighting off suicidal thoughts. Um, and when you're in those low points, you think, like, no one has ever hurt as bad as this. This is impossible to get over. I'll never get over this. So one of the reasons why I share these things is, so people that are going through that know that other people have felt the same way, and that you can make it through and good things can happen to you after that. And just because your life didn't turn out the way you envisioned it doesn't mean that it can't be amazing and maybe even better than what you
yeah,
envisioned. And that's definitely the case with me. Like, there are many things, like, I wasn't able to have kids. I struggled with fertility. I didn't have kids. My marriage ended. I mean, I'm still single now. It's not like I found a relationship, but like I have like all these other things that are going on in my life that I'm just like, that are so fulfilling. and
yeah,
um and it's not something that I ever would have imagined. So, that's something that um, I think it's important for people to share. I think a lot of times people feel shame about these things that they've been through, and I know that my family was always very much like, don't ever tell anyone that you went through this. Don't ever tell anyone that. And but I think, like I told my mom that, like, I share some stuff, and she kind of saw how people responded, and I'm
yeah.
so proud of her. She's made so much progress. So my dad died a couple of years ago, and my mom is like trying to self publish like a book on like bereavement and healing from it, and like talk about doing a 180 where it's just like, oh, hide the things that you've been through. And then she sees how the Northeast ski community and like, the hiking communities have, how what I've said has resonated with them. And she's like actually reconsidered, like her position on this. And now she wants
Wow.
to help others.
I always say, and I find to be true, it's like the hardest people to influence are the ones that are closest to us, so the family members. So, it's no surprise that you had attracted so many people with your beautiful posts and will send people to your Instagram. That's, how I found you. And but to impact your mom, I mean, parents are the hardest to
I,
change.
and I tell you, my parents in particular are just, they are not in terms of self awareness and like, self reflection. That is not their strong suit. I think that the reason why I was someone that enjoys self reflection and I am the way I am is because I saw that they weren't.
Mhm.
And them being like these foils, I was like, I don't want to be like that. And so I kind of like reacted that
You've done the testing for the family, and
way. Yeah,
your mom has seen the positive results, and,
exactly.
you've given her permission, which is really what, that's the message I see from you. You're kinda like, we can look at your story and how you put yourself out there and find ways to kind of replicate that in ourselves. You're really a role model. I loved what you said about, having a goal, but you don't have to say, like, I have to meet this goal right now. Like, let's see how far I can get. I just love that as a way of like taking that pressure off
Yeah,
and let's just see. And another thing you said that I found so resonant that I just wanted to repeat for people is that we don't know what that future could be, and a lot of times it's beyond what we could have imagined on our own.
it is. Like I mean, just none of this stuff makes sense. The direction that my
Mm,
life has gone in, and that skiing has been in the center of it. Because it's not like, you know I was a competitor or something since I was a kid. It's not like, I'm like doing these like mind blowing tricks or something like that. Like, I really got obsessed with skiing, like in my mid 20s, like when I was kind of like coming out of that abusive relationship. It's really something that I've like been doing in my adult life. And if you dedicate a lot of time to it, you can certainly, gain the skills that I've gained. So it's not like I'm at such an elite level. I'm a very relatable level of skiing, but somehow skiing's become part of my purpose. And I think that's
mm,
another thing. I think when like people get older, they have families and stuff like that. They kind of start to see pastimes and hobbies as these frivolous things or just for fun. But you need to start of like put them to the side now because you need to make time for your responsibilities. And I think that's a mistake. I also think that people don't spend the time in trying to find something that they enjoy doing, um, because it can be part of your purpose. You don't have to be the best at something in order for it to be, part of your mission here on earth. It can
mm,
bring opportunities, it can bring community. Hopefully it also brings a way for you to serve others. Like I'm bringing my students, to the Catskills to volunteer. I bring my students for ski and snowboard lessons, and I get to introduce my students in the South Bronx to like a life in a world that they wouldn't normally have access to. And when you kind of like, when I see how like, all right, all these bad things that happened to me have allowed me to help others, those are the moments when I'm like, oh, I'm like, you know what, I'm okay that I went through this. I'm really happy that I went through this because now I'm able to do this, and it's all worth it. So, you know when you're using your trauma to eventually help others, it really is worth it. It just
that's
awakens
right.
something inside of you, and you're just like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Like this is who I am. And without all those things, I would never have been. If I got my life the way I wanted to, I wouldn't have had these realizations. you know?
Yeah, it brings meaning to everything you went through. And I love what you said about you don't have to be the best at it. I mean, this is very, very important and interesting. Like you said, you weren't like a already a competitive skier or like, a Olympian. And I mean, folks, if you see what Julie's doing, so the third person ever, right, to
Yeah,
complete skiing, backcountry skiing these high peaks. So she's essentially touring is what they call it, right, Julie?
yeah,
You're walking up.
yeah. You're climbing up the peaks and then skiing down.
Unbelievable,
So the first
unbelievable.
woman and the third person, the first two to do it were the Kennard brothers, Jamie and Doug Kennard, and they did it together. And I think they finished in like 2014, maybe 2013, 2014. And I don't think anyone, like no one did it up until me. And like
You were
now,
like, "That could be me."
you know what? Like I don't my inspiration to do it really came from within. Like I don't even think I knew at the time when like this idea was actually like in my head for maybe like a couple years
Okay.
before I actually started it. Like the universe kept nudging me to do it, and I'm just like, no, I can't do that. Like, I was like hiking. I'm like, this is crazy. Like, I can't ski this. This isn't skiable. There's
Yeah,
nowhere to turn. Like, there's literally nowhere to turn. It was like, how am I going to control my speed? How am I going to get down these cliffs and stuff? And
which I still wonder.
I developed like strategies as I was doing it, and I just
Wow.
figured it out. And now Kyle Bittner's also finished. He was the fourth person to finish, and he's the first person to do it in a single season.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah,
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean, it's just so powerful. I mean, I can relate a little bit, having completed my high peaks with,
Mhm.
okay, let me do some trailed ones. I do it with a guide. Then I started doing some solo ones. And then some bushwhacking. That's when I brought you in to help me with the bushwhacking. And now I could see myself like doing a bushwhack on my own, which, I wouldn't have never have imagined before. So I kind of guessed that you're like, all right, let me try one. And I know we're not suggesting anyone just go up into the woods and, start skiing for the first time. I know you do a lot of research. You've told me that, a lot of your hiking and our hikes together are actually scouting out paths
yeah,
for your skiing.
yeah. I hiked the peaks from every route possible, before I would ski them, and strategize, and following where the storms, dump the most snow, and yeah.
Amazing.
So
Amazing. And I really like what you said about like that you don't have to, have been the best or want to be the best, cuz I think you're right that as people get older, especially with hobbies and maybe even younger kids these days, actually the way it is, it's like if you can't compete at the highest level, like why are you even doing that hobby?
right.
If you can't either compete or make a business out of it, why are you
Yeah, yeah,
doing it?
that's true. Good point. Yes. If I can't monetize this, what am I
Yeah.
doing it for?
What
Yeah.
is what is the point? And so you're speaking to something very important about how we fill our pleasure time, our play time.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, I just like skiing, like when Forrest Gump is running across like, the United States, and they're like, why are you doing this? I just like running. And I'm like, yeah, I just like ski touring.
Do
And
you
that's,
think that to get the benefits, and I want to talk a little bit about like what you think came out of like, moments that you might have been scared or in pain or, the doubts that come up when they're like, have I lost the trail?
yeah.
How those things have spoken to you. I'm just curious, do you think that folks need like a challenging activity to get the kind of growth and pleasure? Because sometimes you're talking about community, and that could come from maybe knitting or a book club. So,
I don't think it needs to be something. Actually, I think the more intimidating it is, the less likely you are to like start.
okay.
So I think it actually is a good idea to start with something that like might seem like manageable. And then, like, as you kind of like build your confidence, you kind of set like higher goals, or maybe you like want to branch out a little bit more. But I just think something where you can see progress.
Yeah.
I think like little like increments of progress. I think that's what's important, because that's what keeps you going and that's what keeps you motivated. And like you can make progress in knitting, right? Like
Yeah.
anything that you can do that, kind of um, makes your nervous system calm down and your ego defense mechanisms lower.
Mm.
So that then, you're open to the wisdom that the universe is trying to instill in you. And I really think that allows you to channel the wisdom. And I really think that that's how that works. Is that when you're
Mm.
relaxed, you're able to channel things, because we don't know where those thoughts in our head come from. It's not like we really understand like consciousness. I really do think that there is a form of channeling. And something that I learned in the being in the Catskills for that year and a half was how important that kind of like being in a more relaxed state is in order to perceive these things. Um, it's a lot harder to do in the city. And
Mm.
it was much different in the Catskills.
Yeah, getting in the right environment. I mean, it's definitely easier being in nature and being in the mountains for those of us who connect to mountains strongly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what you're describing is for you, it takes your nervous system to a calm state, and in that state, you're able to tune into or receive
Yes.
wisdom.
Exactly. I think that's how it works.
Mm.
That's why, and it was that realization that I was like, you know what? I want my students to experience this. And I asked the universe, I was like, oh, it would be really great if you could like find a way for me to bring my students into this. And like the universe really made it happen. And also like in terms of the skiing, the Northeast ski community helped. Like I put it out there, and then like someone wrote back, like my friend was like, "Oh, Julie, meet Brandon at Winter for Kids." And so that's how the skiing part came in. And then the volunteering, I was asked to join a committee with the New York, New Jersey Trail Conference. And they were kind of like, they're trying to find a way to get like more volunteers or something. And I was like, hey, what if we tap into high schools and stuff like that? They need service hours. This would be great. And then, you're kind of like getting them interested early. And then you're kind of like bringing in a younger demographic. And actually, like a lot of people said no. Like, like everyone was just like, oh no, that's too hard. They're blah blah blah. And then Charlie Gadel, who happens to be the supervisor for the Catskills, so I had my Catskills connection, was like, oh Julie, I think that we can make that work. Maybe they can
Mm.
do like the Catskills Roving Trail Crew or something like that. And then he and I just made it happen on the side.
So
And
tell people a little more. So your job is an English teacher,
yeah, I'm a high school English teacher in the South Bronx.
and you after discovering how much you received from the Catskills and the mountains and the skiing, you were like, "Universe, show me how to bring these kids into it."
And it just brought
And
me to it.
and these are kind of a few different programs that you're doing. So I
Yeah.
want people to really know about them. So one is that you bring the kids up to ski.
I bring them. So Winter for Kids, that campus is in New Jersey. It's uh, like in Vernon Township. It's like a couple miles from Mountain Creek. So
Okay.
that's where they go skiing and snowboarding. They get lessons. Winter for Kids provides all their equipment, their outerwear, and I volunteer on the snow with them teaching.
Amazing.
And then separately with the New York, New Jersey Trail Conference, Charlie Gadel and I organize these trips to bring the kids to the Catskills. And like, I mean, I didn't even know that it was going to be like in the Catskills. It didn't have to be. I thought, oh well, Harriman or something is probably closer.
Right.
And Charlie was like, oh, but I'm the Catskills supervisor. I'm like, you know what? Even better, because I get to bring them to my special place.
And
So
what happens when they come up here? Can you describe that a little?
yeah, the first time I took them, like I didn't know what to expect. I had like a lot of like worries. I was like, I know that walking uphill is going to be something that was hard for them. Because even if you're a fit person, um, if you're not used to like hiking,
Yeah.
it's really difficult. Because I know some people that are like ripped, and like, but when it comes to like hiking, they're on the struggle bus. Um, and I thought that though maybe littering or like not appreciating the environment was going to be an issue. Um, but no, well, I mean, look, they were tired. The uphill was hard.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna lie about that. It was, and we didn't have to like go all the way to the summit. Like we were just, but I took some students to the summit, um, and then we hiked down. So that's usually how it goes. Oh, some of you can come to the summit with me if you still have any energy left, and the rest of you can like stay down here. Um, but I'll never forget this. They were like, and this was like during mud season too. It's like May, so it's not exactly the most beautiful time of year, right? It's not like it's October. They treated everything on that trail like it was the most precious thing they had ever seen. Like I just I don't know. I always feel like I get so excited when I'm talking about this, like because I'm like remembering it and just like I'm like wow, like look at them, and like I don't know, like other people usually like if I'm telling it to don't feel the excitement that I feel. But like I mean, they're like, oh my God, a caterpillar. And they're like losing their minds. And they're like, oh, miss, let's put this on the side of the trail so like nobody steps on it. They're like excited to see worms. I swear to
Mm.
God, they wanted to see worms. They wanted to see snakes. They wanted to see anything. They were so excited. And they were like, so just, they worked so hard. They cleared like 25 water bars. Um, and I remember there was this student who like we were having some conflict in class. I like this one particular class that I had. I swear to God, I have never met a class that has been so resistant to assigned seating. Like usually it's like, yeah, they resist in like the beginning. They might resist for a few months and they get used to it. Till June, Lara. God, I was like, they almost wore me out. But I was like, no, because they were so like noisy that if you didn't have this, like you could not teach the class. And she came, and I was glad she came because this has become like my trick now. If I'm having trouble with a student, like we're not vibing, I take them into the outdoors, and then our relationship changes. And
Mm.
she was totally different with me after that. And she even said, like, while we are out there, she's like, "Yeah, I feel like," she like made this hand gesture as though like kind of like she felt like calmer than she usually does. I was like, oh, fantastic, this is exactly what I wanted, like them to feel like less anxiety and be in a different state of consciousness and feel this relaxation. And then like people would say like hi, and then they would say hi back, and they're like, oh wow, it's like a community out here. Like yeah. So like all these things that I wanted them to experience, they experienced. And it also made me aware of how little teachers actually know about their students.
Yes.
We and I've been guilty of this too. So it's not like um, you know, I'm better than anyone. um, we think we know our students based on what we see in the classroom. And we're always like, oh, kids today, they don't work as hard, they're lazy, all these negative things, because that's what we're seeing in the classroom. But who the hell is excited about writing a rhetorical analysis essay? I
Yeah.
mean, who? But then you take them into a different setting, and all those traits that you want to see, they demonstrate
Mm.
everything. They're helping each other. They start sounding like little teachers to each other. Like, how are you going to learn if you don't get up? Like, I've heard them say that to each other when skiing, and like they become like us, and then they kind of develop an understanding of like why we are the way we are with them. I mean, it's so great. It really, nature brings out people's highest selves.
Mm.
And even to like circle back to what you were saying in the beginning about like our conversations and stuff in the outdoors, that's like another thing that I love about the outdoors, and why I wanted to bring my students there, is that it kind of it everyone's guard is like lowered, and then
Yeah.
people just start opening up about themselves, and you learn so much about people. It's like one hike is like at least 3 dates worth of
Yes.
like information. um and people, they're not opening up because like you're forcing them to. It's not like anything that's like contrived or coerced. It's like because they want to.
Yeah.
And then I learn everybody else's stories, and I'm like, and I have so much more respect for all the people around me. Then it makes me aware of like, oh wow, everybody has stories and everybody has something that they've overcome and is worthy of respect. It's just such an eye opener.
Wow. That's incredible, Julie. And it's true. I think I was thinking about, when we hike, we're kind of in a line. So and then they say, like, kids open up in the car, often because you're both facing forward,
Oh,
and you're
that's
kind of and this is something that's used in somatic experiencing and therapy as well, where instead of that traditional face-to-face sitting across from your client, you might sit next to them and look out at the same direction that they're looking.
Oh, that's fascinating. I guess
Yeah,
then maybe it's like a shared experience because you're both looking at the same thing.
that's right.
And I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
Wow.
You're gazing ahead together, and I mean, it has multiple impacts. I mean, one thing is it's less intimidating, right? Like when you're walking and that someone is face to face asking you questions, that's
Yeah.
not like your nervous system is not going to be relaxed. But if they're not staring you right in the eyes looking for that answer, it's easier to express this other idea that you're kind of looking out at this shared experience together.
Oh,
It unites you, in your consciousness and in this kind of like special way. And then, of course, just doing something else, like the rhythm of the walking. Some
mm,
therapists have like sand gardens in their office. Sometimes it's better if there's something else going on,
yeah.
with the body, and then the words just kind of start pouring out. I guess it's kind of like when you're getting your hair done or something too. It's like,
Oh, that I get that. I get that. That makes sense.
yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
So I see why that's happening. That is a beautiful thing. And you're bringing those students up every year?
Oh yeah. So they go
Yeah.
twice a year. They do fall and spring maintenance, like little trail maintainers.
Wow.
And they keep coming back, even when they're like hot. Last time they
Yeah.
were freezing because of course
Yeah. Because
the
you never know up here what you're going to
yeah. Well,
get.
I knew it was May, and it was like I took them for their first overnight, and we stayed at Frost Valley. And I was like, guys, remember we had like this like random like polar vortex or something in May, and it was like in the
Yeah.
40s, and there was
Yeah.
like supposed to be like even snow or something. And I'm like, guys, like I just like I couldn't reiterate enough to them like how cold it was gonna be. And then like so like the girls were pretty prepared, and then like all the boys were just like nothing but hoodies. And like I like I especially in the South Bronx, like I'm aware that maybe not everybody has like coats and stuff, but like I knew
Sure.
they had them. They just were being kind of like boys. It's like I'll be fine in my hoodie. Which it was okay when we are doing trail maintenance. It was more like when we are doing activities at Frost Valley that like even I had like I'm prepared. I'm an outdoors person, but because it's like more standing around and not as physically demanding, like I was freezing. I was getting
Yeah.
out gloves and things.
And they made it through. And I'm
And they made it
sure,
through
like,
and they still love it and they still want to come back.
it's a story later, right? Remember
And
last
that's
year?
what I told them. I'm like, it's going to be a story later. And then also, Frost Valley has like pretty much like no cell service and like the bunks and stuff. You can really just get in the dining hall, which is good because then they actually got to like play game. They like, I remember it was like they were like playing like night tag or something, or like so like they were playing
Yes.
games and stuff. I was like, good,
Yes.
good. It was like they almost were like 90s teenagers.
I was talking about shared consciousness. I was
Mhm.
literally like what we used to play in the 90s.
Exactly.
Oh, that's so restorative.
Yeah.
Well, if there's any way my listeners and I can support that or your ski program, please let us know.
Oh, I absolutely will. I have to, you know, every year it's like a matter of kind of like figuring out if like the school can cover the cost of things. So that's
Yeah.
usually like the big um thing. So so far we've been able to manage it. But like buses are really expensive. That's the main cost. Like buses are like a couple $1,000s. every trip, and you
Yeah.
have to use like the buses that are like the DOE approved ones and stuff like that. But
Right?
yeah.
Well, use us, and this community to support that work if you need us, because I think what you're doing is extremely powerful.
Oh, thank you.
And I wish there were more schools and teachers like you, Julie.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah. We need to like replicate this.
Yeah, that's what I would like to do. I would like to replicate this in other schools.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm here for that vision.
Yeah,
So
I know.
if
You and I on our next hike, we gotta figure this out. How we can make it.
it'll come to us.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe we'll invite Charlie Gadel on the hike, and we can figure it out.
I love
It's kind of
this.
like easier to do on the side than through an organization. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like, just organize it yourself. Don't ask permission because people are gonna say no. That's
Yeah.
kind of like what Charlie and I did. It's like everyone was like no, and we're like okay, and then we just made it
Oh, I
happen.
love it. I love it. Yeah. Oh, and I'd love to hike with the both of you. And yeah, under any conditions, you never know what you're gonna get here.
Yeah, exactly.
You and I know, like we started, it was like almost like summer at the bottom of our first hike together, and then
Yeah.
it was a full on blizzard by the
Yeah, it was crazy. What month was it? Because
I think that was April. I think that was
yeah,
April.
that's
Yeah.
wild. I was like, what's going on?
It was, I mean, we were in every possible outfit.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So it must, I mean, I imagine you've hit moments like that, like the weather changes, or like maybe you've lost your trail, or um what do you do when you face those challenges?
Um, I mean, like, fortunately, like with technology and stuff, like even if you lose the trail, like you'll probably still find your way, assuming that something doesn't happen to your technology, like it did on Lone and Rocky. But like I carry backup, and like I knew I would still find my way because with Lone and Rocky, it's like, all right, well, if I get down from this, I just follow the never sink to the trail, and like it's. But I remember on Sugarloaf was like nothing, at least in terms of my project skiing, the Catskills, like happened where I felt like I'm gonna die or something like that. It was more like, oh, okay, well, I'm have to like I'm on a heightened sense of alert right now.
Yeah.
So like with Sugarloaf, I really underestimated how long it was going to take, and so like Roaring Brook, that parking area isn't plowed in the summer. Oh, sorry, in the winter. So I was like, all right, I don't want to park there because I saved Sugarloaf because that peaks like crazy for like when there's a good storm and things would be like more filled in. So it just snowed like 2 feet. And I was like, all right, I don't want to get my car stuck and have like no service. Let me park at Mink Hollow. I'll go up the west side and I'll ski
Yeah.
down the east side, which is more ski friendly, and I'll come back around the Mink Hollow Trail, which kind of side hills along Sugarloaf. And so, like by the time I got to that Mink Hollow Trail, like it was getting dark,
Yeah.
and then which like when I was like, I was like, all right, well maybe let me look and see if like I can just like go along the road. Maybe that's better. I was like, oh, that's a lot of miles. I was like, all right, wait.
Yeah.
Then I noticed that the storm had actually blown the snow like on the trees so that it covered all the trail markers.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, that shouldn't be a problem, because you're like, oh, well, I can still like use the map to like stay on the trail. But the thing is, like in winter, like after storms, even like when you're on the trail,
Yeah.
sometimes it doesn't even seem like a trail. It seems like it's like a crazy bushwhack and it's impassable. So
That's right.
that's what I dealt with. And it was taking so long. I was like, oh my God, I think I'm gonna be out here until 1 a.m. Like I swear to God, I was like, I know I'll make it out.
Okay.
Like I wasn't worried about that. But I'm like, this is gonna be crazy. So I was just like,
Because I'm curious
hours.
how you talk to yourself. That's kind of what I was trying to point out. So, like, what I'm noticing is, I mean, first of all, you're very prepared.
Yeah.
and you're leaning into your preparedness, you're
Yes.
looking at your options, so
Yes.
and you're not, you're telling yourself this might take a while, but I know I can get out.
Yeah, and and I had like we don't have cell service in the Catskills, but I did have a moment of cell service. So I did like text like some people from the club, like we're in a group chat.
Yeah.
So I texted them just to let them know.
Where you are.
Yeah, like, oh, this is going on, FYI. Um, but it was kind of like, there's like a lot of switchbacks and stuff on that trail. So then it was like
Yeah.
hard to tell like when the switchback was. And it's like, should I be above these ledges or should I be below these ledges? Like, it
Wow.
was just taking
Yeah.
forever. Like, I even have like a photo and I was like in the dark by myself for like hours.
Wow.
I mean, you're
Well,
like
I
a
don't
phone
suggest this for people
alone.
who aren't prepared. And
Yeah.
always, when you go out, one of the things we always say is let people know where you're going
Yeah.
and what time you expect to be back. So it's good that you had that group chat. And
Yes, and after that, that's when I got the Garmin InReach. I was like, so I should probably get like a satellite communication device.
okay, there we go.
So
Yeah.
that there might have been a little bit of like, universe, please help me out here, um, and maybe asking my dead grandma for help. Maybe a little bit of that.
There might have been a little.
A little
Okay. I was wondering because,
bit.
I've definitely gone into moments of prayer.
It
Like,
doesn't matter how much of an atheist you are. When you are desperate, you're like, I might as well give this a shot.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but but yeah, no, I mean, I managed to make it out, and now it's like a good adventure.
No, it's your story.
Yeah, but yeah.
So you hiked all the high peaks, you've now skied the high peaks. What's your next goal?
So well, I'm working on the lower 67 as well, just because I like to have a long term project in the Catskills, just because it's my backyard and it's so accessible, and I love I love myself a list,
Yes. I
So
love myself
so
a
when
lot.
I finish that, then I'll be the first person to do that. No one else has done that.
Wow.
And then I have a couple. Well, I have a few kind of like endurance ski things that I'm looking to do. But I don't want to say it yet. I'm kind of like,
Okay.
let me see if I can do it.
Yeah.
I'll announce it after.
No,
But
these
like,
are also tips as well. Like different people have different viewpoints on, if you should announce something, because then sometimes in a way it kind of like forces you
yeah, and
to do it.
it depends on
But
your personality.
you have enough of your own self-discipline and to like keep it close, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, they're Catskills based endurance things on skis.
Sweet.
So yeah.
Sweet. And what other are there any other questions that I didn't ask you just about the connections between, some of the trauma healing, the lessons learned, some of the just the great things that either being in the outdoors or having a hobby that connects you to others can do for us.
Well, we're all, in terms of like what the universe wants from us. We're all kind of like guessing, right? And I'm very much aware that like, I'm guessing and I can revise. I'll probably revise things, as I develop. But one thing that I'm very certain about, um, is that um, empathy is evolution. So um, with each thing that I go through, it makes me more aware of the impact of my behavior on others, right?
Mm,
Because when you're on the receiving end of something, that's like when you notice stuff. And in those moments when you're like reeling from pain because someone has like hurt you or betrayed you in some way, you do have like this decision, either you're like, oh, you know what? Screw everybody. I'm going to be one of those people that I'm just going to be selfish. I'm going to take what I want. I don't care how I impact others because people don't care how they impact me. You can go that road, or you can be like, oh, this feels terrible. I don't want to be someone that makes other people feel this way. And and also when you're in those moments when you're like in, your crisis mode and in the midst of your pain, you become very sensitive to the smallest gestures from other people, right? So like, walking down the street and someone's inconsiderate gesture, you feel so
Yes.
much more powerfully. And then someone's kind gesture, you feel so much more powerfully. And I remember like when my father died, I remember saying to the universe, well, this isn't, how is this a life lesson? Like, just like people die, but I'm like really reeling from this. I didn't expect it to be this hard because we had such a contentious relationship. And I learned, I'll never forget this woman's face. I had to go to like, I don't know, it's like DOE offices downtown or something one day. And I was just like in such a, I legitimately had PTSD from that. Like I was like replaying scenes. Like I was with my dad while he was dying for 2 weeks, and like these super sad scenes were just playing over and over a loop in my head, and I was just like so upset and crying all the time. And like this woman, like I didn't expect her to be so nice to me. Like I remember her smiling at me, and I was like, oh, it was like a break in the clouds. I always have flashbacks to this woman's face smiling at me,
Mm,
and it was such a realization of the impact that these small gestures have, and it makes you really aware of the ripple effect of your actions. And
yeah.
you know, um, a lot of times we don't want the responsibility for how we make others feel, right? But the reality, it doesn't change the reality that we do have that impact on others. Um, and, you can either own it or you can be someone that is, having a ripple effect that's, often very negative. And her smile was like, oh, okay. And that just changed something inside of me. And I just became, like, oh, I want to be someone that's like, I want to just, my go to is to be pleasant and out of my way, like nice to people and to strangers and stuff like that. Cause maybe I'm having that impact of that woman's smile on me, you know?
Wow.
And, like, at one point I was like really into NDE stories, like near death experience stories,
Uh-huh.
even more so than, the tunnel.
Hmm.
But one thing that I heard, I don't think there was a single NDE that I didn't hear where there wasn't the life review, and that you're experiencing things from the perspective of the people that you impacted.
Phew.
And it was, and so many of these people that experience the NDEs were like, I thought it was going to be these big life events, and it was these tiny gestures, like when I helped pay for someone's groceries who was ahead of me, who couldn't afford something, or things like that, and showing.
Yeah.
And they would see the ripple effect of how that impacted that person, and how that person later went and helped others because of that. And
Yeah.
I just, like, a lot of times, like, I'm doing something and the universe just flashes that woman's smiling face. I'm like, okay, I get it. And I think that woman is going to experience that in her near death experience. She's going to experience Julie McGuire and how she made her feel
Oh my
before
gosh.
death.
Oh, I hope she does and gets to
Me
know.
too. I hope so too. I really do.
You know, what you just shared, first of all, bring me to tears, and it's backed by science. We did an episode on the science of kindness that folks can listen to, and you may not know this, Julie. Also, anyone that witnesses the small act of kindness is
Oh,
also impacted by it.
oh,
Um,
okay.
so there's a third party. So, if someone sees you smile at someone else or give someone change or hold a door or just and someone else witnesses that, they're also lifted up by watching that someone did that act for someone else.
That
So
makes sense because, like, when I think of like there are times when it's like, I've seen like a man like stand up to offer a woman a seat on the subway or something, and like
yeah,
that like inspires me, like,
yeah,
so it
you get a
really
little
makes
jolt.
sense to me. Yeah, it
Yeah,
does. And I truly believe that if when you're going through things, it isn't opening your eyes it isn't making you more empathetic and opening your eyes to the impact of your actions on others, and then I don't think you fully like transformed and healed from like
Mm.
what you went through. And I think that, we all start off at our lives at like different levels of sight. And as we go through things and have different experiences, it's kind of like when you're at the eye doctor and like they're trying like, all right, so how's this one and how's this one, and like with each kind of like lens it's like sharper and sharper, and that's
Yes.
what I feel like each um traumatic event does. If you're
Wow.
processing it correctly, it makes your vision clearer and clearer, so that you see the impact on others, and you start to feel like another thing that happened like with my dad's, that's like, I don't know, something kind of like broke through. I don't know how else to say it. It's like something broke, but in a good way. And ever since that, not only like do I really want to like help others, but like when I see people suffering, like I actually feel like physically like, oh, like their pain, like in an intensity that I never felt before. Like
Yeah.
before I would just like, I would see someone suffering and it like made me feel bad, but now I just like, I actually feel it like my own, and it's like
Well,
crazy. I'm like, oh wow. Um
a lot of people are scared of that. Um, and you spoke to it, you said it. I'm just really highlighting some of the brilliant things that you've said. You talked about how the when you've been hurt or you're hurting, like the rawness, both you get both. You get a more intensity of feeling people's pain, you get a more intensity of feeling a small thing bringing you joy.
yeah.
And I believe, and it sounds like you do, that that's really living and opening yourself up. And I think we might have even spoken about this with hiking or in one of our chats, but when we try to protect ourselves from pain and close ourselves off to pain, we cut off the openness to experiencing the joy as well.
Yes, and we're cutting off our evolution. We're stopping our evolution.
Mm,
Like I used to think, so like, my family's always like, you're so sensitive, you're so sensitive. And I was like, and I used to wish, I was like, God, I wish I wasn't so sensitive. I wish I didn't feel things as intensely as I did like when I was young. And now I kind of have a different perspective on it, because when you're sensitive, you can't ignore your pain. You can't kind of like numb it really and push it like aside. It's just, you have to deal with it. And I
yeah.
think those that are able to distract themselves from their pain don't go through uh I don't know, maybe as an intense, a transformative experience that
Yeah.
brings them to this higher state of being. I think that even though it really sucks early in life when you kind of like don't understand it, when you later see like the purpose of pain and how it can change you, um, you start to see it as something. It's valuable to be sensitive. It's valuable to feel pain. It's valuable to have this intensity.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, I have a very different perspective on it now.
I feel like so many of the things that you shared today, I mean, they speak to all of us, but to especially folks who are grappling with suicidal ideation. That was something that I didn't know about you. I know that you had been through some traumatic events, but and you've already shared so much that speaks to that community. I'm just curious, and if nothing comes to mind, no pressure. But if there's anything else that you want to say, or specifically to that community, or anything that someone did or said to you during those times that you found particularly helpful.
um, During those times, it was really very difficult. I don't think that. Uh, I mean, like most people can't really like sit with someone in that state. It's kind of funny that you work for a suicide hotline, because I remember there were so many times I'm like, should I call a hotline? I
Hmm.
think I might need to call a hotline, but I was
Yeah.
kind of like afraid to. The funny
That's
thing,
why I like people to know it's me. I'm like, it's just
yeah,
like,
yeah, I wish I knew that, because like I would definitely love to talk to you.
oh,
Like I didn't know what to expect. I was like, are they going to call the cops? I don't necessarily want the cops coming here, or
Sure,
like, what's
sure.
that conversation going to be like? Um, but I don't know. I think, I used to kind of maybe even be afraid of community. And then, like, with the ski community and the way that they've embraced me in particular, the Northeast ski community, like, more than anything else, what I find interesting, I think what it taught me is that, despite, especially now where things are very politically divisive, it's so I'm very focused on learning what brings people together and
Yeah,
finding those things. And, like, I mean, when we're all like spring skiing in Killington, like all the diehard skiers in the Northeast, you kind of converge there because we can ski until June. Um, and I know that the people I'm hanging out with, like, we all have very diverse socioeconomic backgrounds and definitely political beliefs. But in those moments, like, we do not care. We are our highest selves. We are thoroughly enjoying each other. We are having these like meaningful, like, bonding moments. And it's made me very interested in kind of like finding those moments with people. And then in
yeah,
terms of I had a friend that really was there for me, in terms of like helping me through my suicidal moments, when I was like going through my divorce. And help comes from the most unexpected places. That's something I learned, because like this person is like, he's kind of like, because I don't want to give away his name. I don't think he wants people to know that he has, like, this good-hearted part to him. He's kind of like become like a political commentator and kind of like does trolling. Like, I kind of
okay.
had to like
Yeah,
follow him on social media because, like, like, I'm not like into trolling. Um, but I tell you, I could have text him at 3 a.m. and this man would like use his like he's brilliant, and he would like use his reason to kind of like, combat my irrational thoughts. And like, he was just there for me in a way that nobody else was. And then, like, people that I thought were going to be there for me were
yeah,
like so disappointing, like, in some ways, like, made things so much worse. And another thing I've learned is that there is a lot of rejection in seeking help. And I think, like, maybe that needs to be said, because I think, whenever you hear about like mental health and people in crisis, you just hear, oh, go seek help, and
yeah,
make it seem like, oh, you're going to easily find it, or there's no rejection in it. There's a lot of rejection in seeking help. There's like, I remember a spiritual director that I had, like, during my dad's death, like, I actually ended up making me feel like they were like, no, you're kind of like too much for me. And like, kind of
wow,
dumped me. Like, I was like, that's horrible. Like, you
yeah,
work, I'm not religious, but I still like turned to like a church thing. I was like, oh, maybe,
yeah,
even though I don't like religious organizations. I remember I tried bereavement groups. They're like, yeah, I don't think now's the time for you. You should wait. Fortunately, my mom was able to find the help, but I was just getting rejection after
wow,
rejection after rejection, and just alone in my suffering. Um, so there's a lot of rejection in seeking help, but it often comes in unexpected places, or even just like a stranger that like
yeah,
appears in your
yeah,
life somehow for like just that period of time. I've had that happen during my divorce. It's just so
yeah.
strange the way things work.
Yeah, I hear like opening yourself up to those kind of odd synchronicities and those unexpected gifts from the universe. And it's true, when we're struggling, it can be very surprising who's there for us and who disappears.
Yeah, and who isn't? Yeah.
Yeah. And living up here in rural community, I've certainly had my, stereotypes and ideas about, who I could be friends with and
Mhm.
learn about and spend time with, as far as political ideologies really knocked down. And there's a lot more to be said about that, and maybe a future episode on that very hot topic
Right.
that I've thought about going into. Julie, you've been amazing.
Oh, great.
I want to just real quick shout out 988 is the hotline that you can call if you do want to talk to someone like me. For those if you're feeling in crisis or suicidal. Um, and we will not reject you. I
You'll
will
get to
not
talk to
reject you.
Lara, who's
So
amazing to talk to.
um, but Julie, you've been amazing. So many well, I'm just like there's so much wisdom here. I'm so glad that I know you. Um
Likewise, likewise.
and I'm very excited to celebrate you and some really big things coming out for you. Can you tell us before we go about this movie that's been made about you?
Yeah, well, talk about like another crazy thing that happened around my skiing. So, Jamie Kennard, who was the first person to ski the Catskills High Peaks, kind of like speaking about like trauma. He like his wife had died of cancer, and he kind of like after that, like he started kind of like making these like short films. And he asked me to if he could do, I'm sorry, a short film about me skiing the Catskills High Peaks. So it's called Queen of the Catskills. Um, it's coming out. We're working on which date's going to be the Catskills premiere, but it's been picked up by a number of like film festivals, like the Girl Winter Film Festival and the Women of the Mountains in Europe, and another one in in Canada. It's going to be in 30 cities around the U.S. and Canada just for the Girl Winter Film
Oh my
tour.
gosh.
But we're working on like Catskills dates and even more New York City dates.
So some of the dates are up. I saw,
Yes, some of the
right?
dates are up. It's queenofthecatskillsmovie.com.
Okay.
So the trailer is there, as are the dates. And I do go into like I go more into my experience in my 20s with that abusive person and my suicide attempts then and the role that skiing played in that. And yeah, so it's not just about me skiing them. It also has like some personal stories in there as well.
Great. So let's get out for that movie. I know there's dates in like a bunch of major cities.
Hmm.
I saw, there's one in New York. I saw there's one in Paramus for all my Jersey friends.
Yes, the
Um,
one in
but
Paramus,
yeah.
Campmore, that I'm going to give a talk. They're going to show the film. I'll give a talk, and there will be a Q&A for that one.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah.
might have to get out a Jersey crew.
Oh, nice. That would be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, this is very exciting.
Thank you.
And is there another movie that you're a part of or you're featured in, or was there, am I making that up? I
No,
thought there was,
not another one.
okay, we got one is good, Julie.
Yeah, I'll take that. I mean, they're like many skiers that are far superior to me that like don't even get like a 15-minute documentary. So,
I thought there was something else that he's working on where you're also like featured in it, so it's not a movie
oh
just
no, but
about.
he is working on others that'll be coming out after me, but they're not about me, and they're not just about skiing. Like they're
Okay.
yeah,
So this is the one. We're gonna send people to that site, and let's send them also to your Instagram,
yeah.
Queen Queen of the Catskills, right?
Queen of the Catskills NY for Instagram.
NY, Queen of the Catskills NY, and we'll link that in the show notes so people can follow your story there, and your great posts with more wisdom. Anywhere else you want them to follow you, or anything else you want to ask of our listeners before we head out?
No, I think that's it. I hope to see a lot of people at the screenings of the documentary, and on the trail.
Yes, and if you hike or ski with Julie, you know that you'll always be seeing someone on the trail that she knows, so you'll be making a friend or that knows her anyway.
That's funny.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Julie, so much, and thank you for being a friend and someone to look up to on my journey as well. I appreciate
Oh,
you.
thank you. And I think that that these podcasts you do are amazing. They're such interesting topics. I think that this is such an important topic because everybody goes through trauma, and you're just showing people like ways to deal with it in a way that's productive and that's going to move them forward and not bring them backwards. I think it's so
Mm.
important. I remember like you were kind of like on the fence about continuing it. I'm like so glad that I keep seeing new episodes. I'm like, yes.
Listeners, I'm always on the fence about continuing, so please write a review. That helps. And like, let
Right.
me hear from you. If you like Julie are enjoying these shows. Thank you, Julie, so much.
Yes.